and I'm going to be discussing some of the tracks I've uploaded onto my channel. Obviously, I'm going to admit some of these are loops. I know, guilty is charged. I use loops in some of my tracks, but at least I admitted it, so you can't do anything about it because I am honest about it. But let's just start off with the first track I've uploaded onto my channel. That wasn't me improvising my flute on a staircase. The first track I uploaded to my channel was this one, Mid-Ice. I'm bad at naming things, which is why I always just use random characters when I'm playing an RPG. So let's have a listen to this. Okay, first things first, this was I would say it was when I was just fresh out of GCSEs when I made this track, and that was when my music was at its peak. Because even when I was doing my GCSEs, my teachers told me I had to concentrate for composition, because I suppose I'm too good, so I'm just based. To be honest, I'm just based. But aside from this, I was told just to use a drum loop, and then some MIDI tracks, and just play something over it. And this is when I was had more creativity in my mind. I'm still trying to get it back a bit, but I picked a drum loop that wasn't really because I find that awfully boring in my opinion. No offense, drummers, I love you all, but please do something else. Hate drum machines, anyway. But so I chose, if it was like a something like that for the background, as you can hear at the beginning, because there were lots of reverb at the back, not added reverb, more like interesting odd reverb, and the perfect impression. That was we had a MIDI preset I chose called Celestial Voices. I think that's what it's called. I know it. Actually, no, that is what it's called. Celestial Voices. That's the name of the MIDI. So I chose the MIDI Celestial Voices for the back because it had that sound, and that sound is beautiful in my opinion. Let's do it again. Yeah, that one is absolutely gorgeous in my opinion, pretty based. And then there's a bit further ahead was when this bit. Okay, for anyone else, I don't remember the name of the synth at all, and I've been trying to find it ever since I started college. So for a year and a half, I've been trying to find it, and I've to no avail. Maybe it was moved from Logic, or maybe it was just from memory. But I can't find it, so rest in peace, cool sounding synth. But no quantization was used in this track. It was just purely loops. I was told I made this in half an hour. This was during Ryan pre-enrollment day. But I'm happy that I made this. It's just to show that I had promise. That this is something that I am really passionate about, which compared to what's going on nowadays, like how many other tracks would you hear that goes probably somewhere, but I don't know any. Let's continue. So skipping a bit ahead. Okay, first of all, not only is that the best transition known to music, I'm not being debated about that. You can't say anything about it. It's my opinion. Not only did I absolutely love that transition, but it was also very prudent how I did it. I didn't know about automation back then because I was mostly a guy to use notation software, so I just copied the slash of voice track and then added some bit crusher effect filter over it, and it created a more beautiful impression. And then also did the same for the other synth I don't remember the name of, and that's how this piece was created. So not a lot of information, but it is what got me into this college with an unconditional offer. Too bad about maths. So, brilliant start in my opinion. But let's get on to the first track that I released to my channel. Okay, let's go to a bit more of a detour. Let's talk about something I composed before I started any of this during the lockdown. This one right here, I love beautiful thumbnail. But this one was more or less created on a site called BandLab, and that one is I don't really use it anymore because I had to use it on my Windows laptop when I don't have any music equipment, so I had to deal with severe delay on the microphone. Still don't know why, but this is how it sounded. First of all, write your answers in the comments. What do you thought the instrument was? It was a flute, obviously. I don't play the guitar, but that was a flute with a lot of distortion, and due to my lack of mixing back then, also distortion to my future hearing. That one was really loud, especially with delay on my laptop. It hurt my ears a bit. But I really like the sound of it. If I find the original flute recording without the immense amounts of distortion, I will show you. But for now, I like that track. I just wish I could think of something that could continue it. Now, for the videos I won't cover this one or that one or that one because they're just improvisations. There's not really a lot I can discuss into it aside from me vibing on a staircase 3 times and a 4th time. But let's get on to another track which I made last year, which was this one. It was uploaded 4 months ago, but in terms of me making it, this was I made it last year before the summer holidays. Let's have a listen. This was my first attempt at a lo-fi piece, and now looking back at it, it is, well, let's hear it first. Okay, first of all, before I continue it, I used a site called freesounds.com to find out rain effect because literally every other time I hear rain, it just sounds loud, and I don't understand how people can sleep to it personally. No offense to people who can sleep to rain. I don't envy you. I just don't know about your well-being. I don't know how people can relax to rain personally. But that sound effect was nice. It wasn't too loud. It wasn't like shh, right. And then also on the same site, I use a door opening sound and the cafe ambience. That's what I used for the beginning, and then I used some more synths. I don't remember the names, but when I cover these each of these songs more in depth, I'll remember the names for you also. I will remember. And aside from that, this was my first attempt at lo-fi, even despite the fact I never really listened to lo-fi, because that will be for a later video. But for this one, It was it was when I used it was a very nice compressor that I used. I don't remember the name, but when I get more in depth into this track, I will tell you. But so far, let's continue. Okay, so most of what is just a loop of multiple synths so far, but what I'm aiming for is the whatever bass there is have it as less bass but have a lower bass, such as that boom. That was done with an analog synthesizer. I think it was called it's a Moog Subsequent 25. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Best synth I've used in my life because it's the only synth I've used that's physical. No debate. Sorry, but it was an incredible sounding. One of the presets was that doom, and I love it. And then, okay, let's continue. Okay, this one was a bit less unprepared. This was actually just that was just a scrapped idea that I just left in because I was younger back then, which means I was younger. So let's get on to the tracks where I use loops. Guilty, not. Let's start off with 80 Groovy. So this one I've reached 3 renditions on. I should have done 80 renditions. Then it would have been 80 Groovies. But opportunities are missed all the time. But let's start with the first one, which I don't really like. So the first mistake I made with this is one that I left the metronome on. I don't know who to blame, me or Logic, because when I was converting the file to an MP3, Logic kept the MP3 in as well. So the MP3 is an instrument now, guys. New instrument confirmed. Yes, I can see people grooving to this. Okay, before I continue, sorry for putting you on edge, but let me continue. So this whole one, this is all loops. I'm just going to say this is all loops. This was when I was practicing mixing and asked to use loops, and I chose a few, and I decided to use those and create a track out of it. So technically, yeah, I didn't create these sounds, but it's me putting them together and mixing them any different effects. But it was putting them together is using different sounds and making a track out of it. So I'll take myself a bit of credit because I did put these sounds together and I did add some effects to them. I tried to mix it as well as I can, but this was the first edition out of 3, so it's not perfect. Let's continue listening. Yes, basically the rest of the song was just an endless loop, which got rented for too long. Pardon me. So the first one, for the first attempt, it's not the worst I've seen, I'm sure, but it's not my favourite, without a doubt. Okay. And now let's move on to the second rendition I did, which was this one. Let's have a listen. So first improvement out of right away is, well, it's a small one, but the metronome sound is gone. Thank you. But now it's less on your ears, so that is very, very good. Thank you, me, for understanding. No, that was not intentional. Okay, one thing I need to bring up is that with this one, I decided to test some surround audio. Basically, instead of stereo, I can just make it a bit more precise on which direction the sound's coming from. I decided to start that because these Berdynamic headphones, well, first of all, they're brilliant for the price, and they have a very wide sound for, being closed. And I decided to experiment with it, so I decided to have each synth part be in a different direction of the hearing. And it just for me, it just makes everything sound clearer because not everything is bunched up together. Okay, so that drop, the main bass part at the beginning did come in a little bit late. I was still practicing mixing, but it was still a mistake, so forgive me. Just give it ahead. Okay, so that bass moving around everywhere, that was a total mistake. I didn't mean to have it moving around everywhere, and it's just inconsistent, and that is a fault on my part, so I have failed on that part for now. Okay, a bit further. Okay, so the ending isn't very different compared to the last one. I think I just maybe added a bit more, maybe made it sound a bit cleaner on the actual recording thing, but I don't know, maybe just YouTube with compression. I don't know. But no matter, at least YouTube has a bigger file size than bloody Discord about Nitro. 89 quid for 10 more megabytes worth of pictures. That's ridiculous. Absolutely preposterous. But let's take a break from 80 Groovy. I know we're all like an 80 Groovy, but 80 Groovy can wait until the 80s return. So let's talk about another one I did. It's another one with loops, but it's slightly different. It's called Dance on the Floor. Any floor. Okay, so start of inch back, but also this one is a much slower start compared to the last one. It's a bit more of a gradual build up. I think that's when I'm still learning. This one's build up is slightly improved in my opinion because it's just much more gradual. Let's have a listen. So one of the cracking sounds was another loop, but it was I had a lot of reverb to it and had sort of tried to make it sound 3D. Now for this one, instead of trying to make like a drop, like have it like really pumped up. I decided to so when like when I catch you off guard when you're about to, when you're about to dance, yeah, get into it, but then the music just calms down a lot to catch you off guard. Like this. Okay, that one was another loop, but that one was actually MIDI. But to be honest, when I went to back try and edit the track, that sound out of nowhere just changed, and I've never been able to find the original, so... That's just another synth I used to add a bit more flavor. A simple another drum rhythm over it. That one wasn't really spaced out. I think there's a massive difference compared to the tracks that I made without using loops and the ones that did make loops. The ones that I composed without using loops, actually pre-made Apple loops, was definitely that they're much calmer, less technically in terms of actual notes. They're not as complex. That's more just because we're having to use like a keyboard to create everything, and I'm a flute player. I don't play the piano, so I'm not good at making fast melodies. And also the notation on Logic is absolute... words I can't say. If there was a way to import some MuseScore notation into Logic, I would love to know. If anyone knows, please tell me in the comments. Okay, let's move a bit further ahead. Okay, some more loops, but then further. Okay, the snare build up here was I put the loop, but it was offbeat, and also the I didn't properly automate the increase in its volume correctly, so it just felt like it came out of nowhere. So I don't apologize. Deal with it. Okay, this part of the track really doesn't have any correlation with the rest of the track. I just put it in there because I thought it sounded good. So that one is alright, but let's get to one I say is a bit more consistent. Okay, no, let's not do that one yet. Let's do the ones that I think this one's the biggest mess out of what I've made so far. There it is. So this one I used like a random bass line, but I just took the high pass and just went all the way through it. So there was no high end to it at all. It was very low. Then on a compressor, I decreased all the gain and just increased the makeup a bit more. And then I just added a bit and increased the gain, and then added some auto filter to it. So that's how I created that bass sound. I just liked it. This was some random hi-hat sound I chose as well. That was a kick drum loop that I added some auto filter to. I made it sound very subby, but then when it's like it's much more noticeable, but it's very reverby. I just think it looks cool, and it's not normal, so I like it being quirky. Okay, let's fast forward this bit. Okay, that was a bass loop as well, but because I was still playing Doom back then, I wanted to try and replicate the sound a bit. Obviously, when I was watching the Homemade Composer soundtrack, I don't have the stuff for it, but I decided to lower the gain on everything, and then add a lot of amplification to it, and that's what make it sound like that. But it's also it is very loud. I really can't notice it. This one doesn't have any intention. Why do they name it this? Because I watched a video where some people look up stuff like this and it gets some really creepy results. So maybe this would have given something a bit less odd when people look up that term. Or you can call it a rock thing, but that's just a rock. But let's get on to the other track I see is a bit messy. Is this one? This was my poor attempt at drum and bass. I don't listen to the genre, so it sounds nothing like it, I think. Yes, that one goes on for the entire time, and I didn't really bother to actually alter the notes at the end, because for me, flex pitch is still a pain to use because it's so stingy, and also since it's a live recording, it's not as simple as dragging it over. It's quantizing with extra steps. But let's continue. There's some more loops there. The one thing that's changed throughout the entire track is that I took every analog drum preset on Apple loops and just dragged them all into here for the entire song. That's why it's 6 minutes long. Lazy, absolutely, but it's still giving me about 23 of your views of your time. So it's done a bit. But let's talk about a track that I say is a bit more balanced, I would say. Lo-fi on a mountain. This one I say is more accurate to being a lo-fi track than a relaxing night at the cafe. Which cafe though? Let's have a listen. Okay, from the beginning this one sounds a lot more wet, if you know what I mean. It's a lot more like the other one is much more quiet rain, but then a lot more like when the synths I did a lot of reverb, make it sound a bit more like water was impacting the synths. That's why it costs a lot of money to repair it. I love that bass. It's another loop, but the way I mixed it just makes it sound really nice. That nice heavy bass with a subwoofer. That sound is okay. With a subwoofer, it just takes out everything, but it's a nice ass bass. It's so good. There's some drum kits I used. I used the Fat Effects on it. And it was just like a 60 drum kit preset, but I slowed it down because it wasn't on the right tempo for the preset, so the drums were slowed down, and then I added like the Fat Effects onto it to remove all the high end, and it just sounds a bit less. It sounds more bassy, less mid end, not like mid like mediocre, and I like it. So far, yes, this track is definitely much more relaxing in my opinion. Let's fast forward a bit. Okay, so there's the other two grouting here in the back. Those two, one of them was a preset of a bunch of violins, and then I just slowed it down, and then my Fat Effects on it to remove all the only have a bit sound more crunched up bassy, like it's been on like a telephone line. Same for the flutes. But even though if I made this track now, I wouldn't include loops that involve flutes, because I play a flute, and I personally think that if you use loops of a flute that weren't done by an actual flutist, I think it's sacrilegious and someone will come after you. Yeah. So that one sounds nice as well. And now let's talk about this one. Final track for today It's the improved thrice 80 groovy. We should have rated 80 more groovies, but I suppose an even better groovy from the 80s will be better. Let's do it. A bit more pumped up at the beginning. That's good. So the first difference is that I added some drums to the beginning. It's just like a simple kick drum rhythm, but I removed all reverb from it to just make like a dum, like it stops, dum, dum, like that. I kept the bass the same, but this is the first one I attempted to side chain some of the parts. Side chaining, I don't know why, it's just a bit tricky for me, but you'll hear when I attempt it in a second. I'll tell you when. This is where it is. Drop! I don't know why, but I'm still proud that that's a moment, that little drum roll. I know it's just loose, but just putting it all together is like a Lego set. I used random instructions and it worked. I still love that bit personally. I adore it. Let's continue. But one fatal flaw in my opinion was that I used that for the entire track. I don't know why I added it. It's just adding more clutter, making it more difficult to mix. Nice. Bass. I forgot to switch that. I forgot to remove that bit from the bass, so that's my fault. So that's one major problem I have to work on, is cleaning up after I finish composing something, just making sure there's no errors. Bit hard. Okay, that loop was not good. Let's convert the bit head. And drop! Nice, nice, nice! Now that's what you call nice. Yeah, that is a good drop. That is, I like that. That is a good loop that I didn't make. But yeah, okay, let's continue a bit forward. It's still, yeah, that other loop, it's still there. It shouldn't have been there, but it's a bit more to the end. Okay, at the end it was, I did take it out. So that's okay. The delay on that one wasn't supposed to be come on that early. It was supposed to be at the end to try and add like a fading away effect. A lot of songs do to make them very unsatisfying to listen to. Sometimes, like imagine at a concert, you just had to fade away quietly into the darkness while your music was still playing. But that is what I have for today. This is my first attempt at a video like this. So obviously, it's not good. So if anyone has any good suggestions I should do, anything I could do to improve now without spending lots of money on equipment for now, please tell me, and please like and subscribe, because I want to be able to make music that's actually good. And right now, I'm struggling a bit at the moment with motivation. So if anyone has any good ideas for me, please tell me and I will listen to them. Thank you very much. Have a splendid evening. Bye bye.